some kid is gonna went to sleep without his father, maybe. Some wife woke up without her husband. Like, that's the story here. Do you know what I mean? But all of a sudden it's like, oh, but we want to know what Muslims think, or what, you know, this thinks or that. Like, for us, it's, look at what's happened. That's the sad thing.
I get really offended when somebody asks me, do I condemn this? Am I not human?
It's insulting.
It's insulting for us.
It's an insult.
When you ask,
of course.
Do
you know what I mean?
It should be second nature for anyone, whether you follow a religion or not. Somebody innocent lost their life. Somebody lost a father or a mother or whatever. Like, it should hurt everybody as a community. We're humans at the end of the day. It's time we start acting like them.
There's just so much more to me than just a Muslim. But the thing is, when you see me, do you think about any of those other things? Like, would you think humanitarian? Would you think father? Do you think son? Do you think brother? Do you think, you know, a guy that loves cake? Do you think... You don't think any of these things. You just
or do you think of a guy that's trying to take over my country?
Nothing else.
Nothing is more important than keeping people safe. Letting people, like, feel safe. Like, now in London, like, I don't want to... Me and him come from Birmingham. We feel slightly unsafe if we go around Westminster. Why should we feel like this? Like, if we give in to this kind of narrative and we start hating each other, like he says, we're only going to drift further and further apart. We want the betterment of the world and the community and our area and our country and everything. Just learn about us, make the effort to understand us, speak to normal Muslims. Don't judge us by some guy on the TV screaming whatever, chanting, who's got nothing to do with our religion. That's all we want. We just want a fair chance.
People that carry out attacks because they think they're doing it in the name of Islam, and people that think that that's what Islam is about, those two people that claim to hate each other are actually of the same mentality, because they both think that that's what Islam is, when it isn't.
But terrorism, 9/11 for instance, according to classical Islamic law, is classified as hiraba, which carries the death penalty. Well, jihad is not the same as a militant perspective. Jihad just means the use of proportional force, which exists in most cultures, just war doctrine. Terrorism is something else. Terrorism is the arbitrary targeting of the innocent in order to place pressure on governments, which is something that doesn't have origins in Islamic culture or ethics and comes out of the French Revolution and certain 19th century anarchist movements that use terrorism. Its adoption in the Muslim world is very recent and is an expression of westernization. But terrorism, 9/11 for instance, according to classical Islamic law, is classified as hiraba, which carries the death penalty. So there isn't really an issue. The problem is people in the West don't know who speaks for Islam, and in most cases they don't even think that they should ask. Islam has leaders and muftis and Islamic universities that issue declarations on these things, but everybody's very vague about what Muslims actually think. So they know about Abu Qatada or whoever, but they don't know what the Mufti of Egypt is saying about anything. It's pretty hopeless, really. But then Muslims can also misunderstand what's going on in the Christian world. I met somebody in Mali 4 years ago who was a bit out of touch, no broadband connection in Timbuktu. So he told me the leader of the Catholic Church is the Pope and the leader of Protestant Christianity is George Bush. That was his perception of the world and religion and violence and who leads the other religion. But really, it is the case that you can read the Times from cover to cover for a whole year and not be able to name a single Muslim leader. It's just not on the screens of the chattering classes in the West that they should tell people what Muslim leaders actually think about these issues. It's just not done.